morning traders, and welcome to this week's Forex Focus. I hope you've all had a good week in the markets. In today's show, we're going to look at not only the opportunities that could be setting up for the week ahead, but also talking about something that's so very important to a trader's success. And that is how to use discipline and patience in your trading to ensure that you allow your trades enough space to move and enough time to be able to get to their eventual profit targets. So without further ado, let's jump across to the charts. So this week there are only a few opportunities that we're really looking at in terms of potential trades. There are obviously a number of opportunities that we've been looking at over the past weeks, but unfortunately they've either invalidated themselves or the trades have already been and gone. So this week we've only got 4 real opportunities. We're already in, well, we've got 5, we're already in one of them, being the pound dollar, which we'll come to in just a sec. But the other 4 we're looking at is the New Zealand dollar, the one that you have in front of you. And as you can see here, what we have is we've got the New Zealand dollar in a big downtrend. So if we, well, downtrend anyway, if you take a look here, the market's been moving down since July there. And then it went through a period of consolidation from through October all the way through to January before it broke this key support area. And this is a massive support area. This is one of the things that we love to see. Once the market shows us that it's respecting a particular level, more often than not, when it comes back to it, it will continue to respect that level. And that's exactly what's happened here. The market then, once it broke through this level, it rallied back up to it. And just last week on Thursday, the market then came back to that level. It attempted to break through the level, but failed. And now, as you can see, it looks like we're about to break down. The entry that we're looking at for this trade here is either a break of the low of this doji here, or if we're looking to be a little bit more conservative, we'll wait for the markets to break through this counter trend line here, as you can see. So any of you snapback fans out there, this is what we're looking at, the market to break through this trend line here. Probably we won't get in on an initial break. We'll wait for the market to pull back to that trend line, retest the trend line, and then break down again. But we'll have to judge it based on the momentum that gets through this particular trend line this week. But this is certainly something that we're going to be looking at. Once we're in that trade, we then need to keep a BDI on the 0.7098 level. So ultimately the 7100 level. A nice round number there, because that has proved to be support in the past there, all the way back in 2011, as you can see from the weekly charts. So that is certainly something that we're going to have an eye on once we're in this trade. But nevertheless, it's going to provide a very, very nice risk-reward trade there. You know, you're probably looking at least a 2-to-1 on that particular trade. Then moving along, we have the New Zealand CAD. And the New Zealand CAD is quite a nice one because we've got 2 opportunities to trade. We're either looking to sell when the weekly chart gets up to this big level over here. So when it gets up to the 0.9658, I say the weekly chart, but obviously any chart, but just looking at the level from the weekly charts here. The 0.9658, as you can see there. When the market comes up to that level, we're then going to look for the price action at that level. And if it looks like the market doesn't want to break through, we'll then look to sell it back below. If obviously we do get the price action to go above, then we'll be looking to buy that. But ultimately, at the moment, it looks like we're going to be looking for a sell at this level. Now, the reason I said that this is quite an interesting one is that by the same token, if the market doesn't get up to this level, but it breaks back down below here, when it comes down to this trend line, we are going to be looking for a buy. And as you can see here, this trend line's been in place since 2011. So the market does respect. Every time it comes down to this trend line here, the market finds some sort of strength and finds a way to bounce. So the next time it comes down here, we believe that it will do the same. We're not necessarily going to be looking for huge profits on that when it comes down for the bounce. Obviously, we're going to look for a positive risk reward, but that's a great thing about trading huge levels. When you trade the big levels, it looks like, you know, there isn't very much room for it to bounce. It looks like there isn't very much profit on the table. But if you're going to take a trade, you know, off of a weekly level on a 4-hour chart or a daily chart, for example, you've got more than enough opportunity to get a nice risk reward there without having to ask the market to do too much for you. Okay, so that's the New Zealand CAD. Then we will move on to the Australian dollar. The Australian dollar is actually breaking down right now. It's a very similar trade to the one that we're looking at in the New Zealand dollar, only this one is occurring as we speak. Now, as I said on the New Zealand dollar, we're not necessarily looking to get in on an immediate break of the trend line here. We're going to wait to see what the price action does. Now, that will mean that we potentially might miss this opportunity to get in early, but this is something that we've been looking at for a while. So in the very worst case, we will be taking a sell through the lows here at 76.18 in any case. But we'll take a look to see what the price looks like when it gets down there. But this is definitely a pair that we want to get short on. At the moment, the market is breaking down a little bit. We're just kind of waiting to see what it actually does, because what we don't want is a false breakout here. So the market tips below there, mops up all of the liquidity, then finds a way to rally back above again. That's not what we want to do. And plus, we're already in the pound dollar trade, which is a very similar trade to this as well, which allows us to be a little bit more picky in terms of the trade that we're going to take here, because we've already got exposure to the dollar strength. Then finally, we've got the pound New Zealand, which is another one that we're looking at this week. And for the pound New Zealand, we're looking for a reaction to this huge weekly level here, which, as you can see, the market touched it in 2011, 2012. It then sold off from it, and it's come back again to here in 2014, then gone away again, and now we're back in 2015. The market looks like it may threaten it. So if it can get up to this level, then we're going to be looking to sell it. It will need to break out with some momentum to convince us that this level is going to become a buy, but you never know. As traders, we need to be flexible. We need to be willing to go with what the market tells us. So if the market does get out above this level and gets out above there with some momentum, then maybe we'll have to rethink our plan there. But at the moment, our plan is to sell when it gets up to this level if we get the correct price action. Just very quickly, the trade that we're already in is the pound dollar. We got in on this on Thursday of last week, and it's been lovely. It's just we got in there Thursday of last week, and initially it just went against us, gave us a little bit of pain. So we were sat out of the money for all of Friday ultimately, but the market's gapped down a little bit, and now we're sat just in the money at the moment, which is nice to see. So we've got high hopes for this particular trade here. We're initially looking for it to get down to 14937, which, as you can see, represents a massive risk reward for us. Positive risk reward, obviously. So as you can see here, if the market can get down there, we've got sort of 2.5 to 1 risk reward, which is going to be very, very nice. And we played this exactly the same as we played as we're playing the Australian dollar and potentially looking for the New Zealand dollar. We didn't get in on an initial break of this trend line here. We waited for a second test. Then once we got the test and the market proved to us that it wanted to break down, then we got into the trade. Unfortunately, when we got into the trade, it gave us a little bit of profit, and then it went against us, as you can see here. But at the moment, we're sat in the money very, very slightly, which is nice to see. So hopefully the market can continue down and pay us. Which brings me on to my next point. My next point is about having discipline as a trader, because, and this is especially true for longer term trading. When you're short term trading, the dynamics of the market can change very, very quickly. So you have to be very fluid. But when you're taking position trades, when you're taking swing trades, you need to have quite a lot of patience, because you need to remember that probably 60-70% of the time the market moves sideways. So when you're in a longer term trade, you're not going to see the momentum come into it as quickly as you would if you were in a day trade, for example. And the reason I say this, and just want to highlight the New Zealand dollar, the Euro New Zealand trade, which we took and took profit on actually last week, but we took this a couple of weeks ago. The market, we took it on an initial break, similar to the pound dollar trade that we're in at the moment. So we waited for an initial break of structure, which we got here. The market then broke down, pulled back, and then we went on a second test. So we waited for the confirmation signal. When we got into the trade, the market then went against us very, very slightly before moving with us with our trade. And then we sat in the money, but we were kind of hovering in and out of break even. So, you know, we were in the money, we're out of the money, in the money, out of the money. Very, very tempting just to say, you know what, we're going to just take all the trades off the table, right? But if you exercise a little bit of discipline, if you have patience, you look at your analysis, you look at the chart and you say, no, this does look like it's going to move down. We look at all of this over here. Okay, so you look at all of this price action here. We can see that the majority of the market's moving down. We're going to stick with the trade. And eventually the market then got down towards the lows, which is where we took profits. Similar thing on the euro pound. The euro pound actually sat out of the money for more than the euro New Zealand as it happened. So we got into the euro pound trade initially on a break of the, where was it we got in here? Yeah, so we got in on a break of the 7400 level, as you can see there. But the market literally just kind of messed around break even for, and I'll zoom in here so that you can see us. Messed around break even for a number of days. Wasn't really going anywhere at all until last week, the sort of last few days of last week. It found some way to sell off, and the markets eventually got down to our targets at 0.7235, where we were able to take our profit. Okay, so that wraps it up for this week's Forex Focus. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found some value in there and you've learned some of the lessons that we're trying to teach you, namely this week, discipline. As I just showed you on those charts just there, those trades didn't go with us initially. We had to spend a little bit of time out of the money, but our analysis was that they would continue to sell off. We kept looking at the charts, we kept doing our analysis, trying to be as objective as we could. And the charts told us the same story, so we decided that we had to go with it, and that eventually paid us. Okay, so there's a lesson there for all of you. As I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're finding value in this, and please give it a thumbs up beneath, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on next week's Forex Focus.